Hello, Husam. Greetings from the gym. Yes, I'm good. You go to the gym very early, Husam. It's good. The early bird takes the early worm. That's not the same. The first bird gets the first early worm. Anyways, you know what I mean. Okay, well, today, October 21st, is is not just any day. It's a day that I will go to bed clean, which is a miracle in itself. I'm stacking on 4 years. Let's see how many days I have right now. One sec. I have over 4 years, but if you want to count in days, 1,607 days clean. How's that? Going on to 5 years. See this? Cool, right? So we're doing good. Yeah, it's pretty cool here. It's a little quote. This is the Sober Time app. It's a good app if you want to count clean time for any type of addiction. And there's a little quote at the bottom. It says, "What you do today can improve all of your tomorrows." Whoa, that's cool. Very cool, right? So this is Antoine Anonymous. It is a live stream about recovery. Hi, Brendan. And drug addiction, and how to recover from it. How to overcome it every day, day by day. This is what I'm talking about here. We had a good turnout last time. Lots of people tuned in, so we'll see how it goes today. But either way, anybody in the chat who have questions about recovery and drug addiction, I can talk to you about my own experience and maybe help some people out. And then, this goes on throughout the whole live stream. And then I read the just for today reading. And then we talk about that. Thanks, Brandon. All right, I'm going to start with the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Always good to hear that. I like that. Whoops. There we go. All right, 5 viewers. Not sure who's on right now. Let's see if my Instagram post story worked. Get some people from there. Where's my Discord? I can't find my Discord. Live right now. Here we go. The world is crazy. Lalito Frito. Hey, brother. So if you're hiding your addiction, should you come forward and tell your loved ones that you're in need of help? Well, obviously, if you're hiding your addiction, it is an addiction, right? So I did that before. 100% I did that. And I only started getting better when either I got caught or I told my loved ones that I had a problem. Because me by myself, with my brain, I could not help myself. Because let's say if I would throw away the bag in the evening, at night, okay, now I'm gonna stop, and then I go to bed. I would wake up the next day and change my mind. I would wake up the next day and change my mind. I would buy some more. So it's I can't do this by myself because my thinking is the problem. I can't outthink a thinking problem. Right? If my brain is the problem, I cannot use my brain to fix the same problem. So by outing you, calling yourself out to your friends and family and loved ones, those who are, open-minded and willing to help, of course, if they suspect nothing, they'll be like, what the fuck? But if they love you, they're going to want to they're gonna be proud that you're reaching out. Like, of course, me, I'm like super open to that because I've went through it. So, but if I even if I didn't, like, if somebody I really love would tell me like I'm going through this, I need help, I would be like, okay, like let's help you out. I would be glad to help. Especially if because they always say that you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves. But if you're willing to help yourself, yes, definitely reach out to someone. And the cool thing is that if you have a friend or someone in your family that is in recovery, that's the first person I would go to because they understand exactly what you're going through. I don't know if you're talking about yourself here, Lalito Frito, or you're just asking in general for maybe somebody else. But either way, when you're isolating yourself, your addiction just grows stronger. Honestly, you know, you can just like start obsessing over it nonstop. Nothing's stopping you, and then you start feeling like crap. Either you like, depending on what you take, right? You can overdose. You can like start being paranoid. You can like just like slowly become like useless, but overall your life becomes unmanageable and you're powerless over taking back control. So that's those are signs, right? There's a good. Let me try to find this. That'd be cool. Let's maybe we'll do that today. Let me see. Um, who is an addict pamphlet? Or am I an addict? Am I an addict pamphlet? Yeah, that's the one. All right. Oh, wow, it's it's pretty cool. One sec. So there's this thing here. I'm gonna post this in the chat, and maybe you guys can follow along if you want. But I'm gonna put it on the screen too. We'll do an exercise today. We will do an exercise to see if we're all addicts. How's that? I'm just gonna take some screenshots real quick. You can tell this is on the fly. Oh, what's going on here? I'm on a live stream. I'm on a live stream right now. Can I call you after? Okay. Bye. I'm sorry. Okay, where was I? Yes. There's one. So this is a questionnaire. I don't know if you guys clicked or not. This is a questionnaire we could go through together, and then we can see if we're addicts. Okay. We're gonna start with this one here. All right. That's pretty cool. You'll see. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is Am I an Addict pamphlet. You can find it online. Oh, happy birthday, Brandon. Looney Tunes fans. You do have a channel. It's pretty cool. You'll be 25 years old in 6 days. Are you gonna have a Looney Tune cake? Anyway, let's refocus. Am I an addict? Only you can answer this question. This may not be an easy thing to do. Although our usage, we told ourselves, I can handle it, even if it was true in the beginning, it is not so now. The drugs handled us. We live to use and use to live. Very famous little slogan here in NA. Lalito says, thank you for answering my question. You at home and what you said. God said, yeah, the higher power, God, can really help you, honestly. We use the higher power in the 12 steps. And also, I am not a representant of the 12 steps. I'm not a spokesperson for it. I just use the program for myself, and I'm just speaking of what worked for me. Let's keep reading this. So Lalito, this is you should really follow this right now. I don't know if you got some time, but we should answer these questions together and then figure out some stuff. All right. We live to use and used to live. Very simply, an addict is a person whose life is controlled by drugs. All right. Perhaps you admit you have a problem with drugs, but you don't consider yourself an addict. All of us have preconceived ideas about what an addict is. There is nothing shameful about being an addict once you begin to take positive action. If you can identify with our problems, you may be able to identify with our solution. The following questions were written by recovering addicts in Narcotics Anonymous. If you have doubts about whether or not you're an addict, take a few moments to read the questions below and answer them as honestly as you can. All right, let me see if I can do something here. One sec. Okay. Question number 1. Do you ever use alone? I've used alone in the past, yeah. It wasn't the goal, but if I didn't find anybody to party with and I was already high, or I would start using by myself and then, go out and find the people that I could use also. So yes, that's one of the questions. So yes. So you guys can maybe do this exercise. People who are not sure about being addicts or not. Lolito, ask yourself this. 2. Have you ever substituted one drug for another, thinking that one particular drug was the problem? Yeah, I've tried that. It didn't work for me because I was thinking about the other one the whole time. It's like I have a drug of choice, and I was thinking about that drug, and I was trying to use the drugs that was acceptable in the circle of friends that I had. Because they were judging the drug I was doing, but they were doing another drug. They were doing blow, so I have to do that now. I would try. I didn't like. It's like it felt like something was missing. Right. So yes, I tried that. Didn't work. Have you ever manipulated or lied to a doctor to obtain prescription drugs? Yeah, I did that. I was like, yeah, I have anxiety. Give me Xanax, and then I had a doctor on call. I could just ask for whatever, and it would just send it. So yes, I've done that. Have you ever stolen drugs or stolen to obtain drugs? Yes. Allegedly. I have broken into a drug dealer's house. Allegedly. So yes. 5. Do you regularly use a drug when you wake up or when you go to bed? So that was before, right? So now I'm clean, so this doesn't apply to me right now. But I did, in active addiction, I would wake up and the first thing I would do was drugs. So yes. Do you avoid people or places that do not approve of you using drugs? Yeah, I was avoiding my family. I was avoiding everyone who didn't meet, who didn't accept my drug use, who didn't go along with it, that didn't serve me in my selfish needs at that time. Yes. Have you ever used a drug without knowing what it was or what it would do to you? Kind of. I've took some shady pills. I guess so. Kind of. But I was pretty informed of what I was doing. So I don't know if it's worse or not, but so I that can apply to me. Yeah, kind of. Has your job or school performance ever suffered from the effects of your drug use? Yes. A lot of responsibilities were not met. Lost some sponsors in the past. I lost Universal because of that. Lost Iron Bowl Strength in the past because of that. Lost Right Aware because of that. I lost everything. Have you ever been arrested as a result of using drugs? Nope. I got lucky, I guess. But I could have got arrested. Got in a fight one time. No, that's another story for another time. So no, I got lucky. So at least there's that one that didn't happen. Have you ever lied about what or how much you use? Yes. Yes. I was lying all the time about that. 12. Do you put the purchase of drugs ahead of your financial responsibilities? Yes. If I had money at some point, it went to that. It went to drugs. 13. Have you ever tried to stop or control you're using. Well, before getting my 4 years clean, I tried and failed many times, especially the first 30 days of recovery. Those are the hardest days. When you just relapse and you're just trying to stop now. It's like you only have a few days, so it's so easy to go back to it. So yeah, have you ever been in a jail, a hospital, or a drug rehab center because of using? Hospital, yes. Drug rehab, yes. Jail, no. Got lucky. Got lucky, and or maybe I didn't use long enough. In my 5 years on and off span, add a few years to that, I would, if you have no money and want to use drugs, what do you start to do? Start to do like this freaking guy who broke into my car the other day, I guess. You know what I mean? Start doing some crimes to like finance your drug use, your drug habit. Does using interfere with your sleeping or eating? Yes. I was not eating or sleeping, nor that I care to do that. I mean, that's why we get really hungry. But if I had money, honestly, I would rather buy drugs than food. That was crazy like that. All right, let's find the other reading. It's this one here. Poof. All right, there it is. Does the thought of running out of drugs terrify you? It didn't. It terrified me. I mean, at some point I was like, uh-oh. If you don't have no money and you're running out, and then you start looking for drugs, like remnants on the table or underneath the table. I remember the first time I did that, crawl underneath the table with a flashlight, try to find like crumbs, and the girl I was with was like, "What are you doing? You're like an insect, a critter. You're freaking me out." I said, "Who cares? Like, just maybe we'll find some more." I was crazy like that. I started doing that in 2014, I guess. So yeah, it sucked, right? And then you ran out, and then you just don't have any more. Nobody's answering the phone. Then you try to find money for that. But then in the last relapse I did, I could have used longer because I had money saved up. I would have probably died before spending all the money, but I didn't run out as much. But yeah, when you ran out and you were like you didn't want to run out, it was kind of like, I mean, terrifying. I don't know if it was terrified, but I was scared. Yes. 17. Do you feel is it possible for you to live without drugs? So back then, I knew that I could live without drugs, honestly, but I didn't want to do it yet. So no, I don't think it was impossible because I've ran without it. You know, I just didn't care. I didn't want to stop now. I was like procrastinating stopping pretty much. Do you ever question your own sanity? Mm, I never questioned my own sanity, actually. I never questioned my sanity. Even though I saw like some crazy shit from like lack of sleep, I never felt I was like losing it, even though I probably lost it. Is your drug use making life at home unhappy? Yeah. I've ruined one, maybe two relationships, three, because of drug use. Um, have you ever thought you couldn't fit in or have a good time without drugs? Yeah. Once I started doing drugs, it's like I didn't like what's gonna be fun now, right? It's 'cause it was I don't know how I didn't see how that could be possible. Have you ever felt defensive, guilty, or ashamed about your using? Yeah, defensive for sure. Try to justify things, minimizing the consequences. Guilty, yes, after the fact with consequences that happened. I was guilty of that. And then ashamed. Yeah, because when you like lost everything and you're like look at yourself, you're supposed to be this like awesome athlete that everybody loves, and then you're just like this loser who just can't stop doing drugs. Yeah, I was ashamed of that. So yes. Do you think a lot about drugs? I thought about drugs all the time. I think about drugs. Did I think about drugs today? I might have. I think once a day. Actually, I think about drugs at least once a day. Even now, for 4 years clean. Have you had irrational or undefinable fears? Irrational, undefinable fears, like fears you can't explain. I never was. I was paranoid of getting caught by my ex, like back in 2015. I thought I saw her everywhere in Toronto. So I guess that was a little bit irrational. Like, why would she be like, you know, driving around, whatever, right? I mean, I was afraid of being caught so bad that I was starting to be paranoid. So I guess it's yeah, maybe it's irrational. Yes. Um, I don't know if the chat is working here because nobody's. I can't see anybody typing after Lalito. So if somebody wants to confirm the chat is working, just type something. Um. Oh, have you ever taken drugs you didn't prefer? Yeah, yeah. I never liked smoking weed, and I did it sometimes just because I guess that was the only thing that was acceptable. Like I was trying to do hard drugs, so yeah, I can say that. Have you ever used drugs because of emotional pain? Oh, perfect, Lalito. Have you ever used drugs because of emotional pain or stress? So, Lalito, have you answered some of these questions yourself? You don't have to like tell them like yes or no to me, but it's a good exercise to do, right? OJ, I don't. What's up, Victor? OJ, what's up? I don't do the bodybuilding questions in this live stream. No, it's okay, Hussam. Keep working out. Keep working out and listen to my rambles. Uh, have you ever used drugs because of emotional pain or stress? Yes. A lot of the relapses, when I had some a good amount of clean time, would happen. Why am I red here? Would happen because of I would be really hurt by the actions of a girl I was dating or whatever, and it's how I was not able to handle the pain caused by that. But it's not necessarily the girl's fault. It's my fault always because I'm just the one that was too weak to deal with the pain of relationships. Sometimes it happens, right? So yes, I've used drugs because I was sad. I would use drugs because I was lonely. I used drugs because I was like really angry. Anger was the main emotion that would like really really trigger me and make me relapse because it's like I was really hurt. So instead of being sad, it was easier for me to be angry, and then in the angry I had like a case, always a case of the fuck it's I call it, where it's like nothing matters anymore. I would say like all right, she did that to me, well I'll show her, I'll show them, I'll just do drugs and fuck it, just go on a bender, because I know that felt good. It felt good to just say I don't give a fuck and just do whatever I wanted, right? It was a good escape from the pain, and even from like the the void that's always been there since I'm a little kid. You feel you're not good enough. You feel like you're worthless. You feel this. You feel that. And then when I did drugs, I didn't feel any of that. I was just like party guy with charisma, talking to everyone, being like a party guy, you know, party boy. Have you ever overdosed on any drugs? Um, I've definitely dosed myself too much on some drugs, and some of them are like, yeah, I guess I did, but it wasn't like I wasn't in a dangerous, life-threatening. Well, I guess I'll say yes. Yes, I overdosed on drugs. I guess. 28. Do you continue to use despite negative consequences? Well, I did in the past for sure. You know, when you're like, you lost everything, you only have like $17 left in some drugs, and you're in the rain, you don't have anywhere to go. Just like lost everything. You just got in a fight. Everybody like is like worried about you. My mom and everything. It's like shit's going down. Lost a lot of muscle. Not in shape anymore. Didn't train in over a month or more, and I still wanted to use. So yes, I've used despite negative consequences in the past. Answer 29. After all of that, after all of that, it says, "Do you think you might have a drug problem?" I think there's only like 2 or 3 questions. I said no, and the rest was all yes. So 100% to the question that if I have a drug problem or am I an addict is yes. Even though I am clean now, my brain still like would think all. If I would start using it again, it would be all that all over again, for sure, 100%. Right? So I got to remember that. Good exercise to do for me to read that. So it says here, I'm going to read the rest here. Am I an addict? This is a question only you can answer. We found that we all answer different numbers of these questions. Yes. The actual number of yes responses wasn't as important as how we felt inside and how addiction has affected our lives. Because some people could say yes to half of these, but half yes to half of these is a big problem. Honestly, yes to even 10 of these is a big problem. You know, it's like it creates. We're creating a lot of pain in our lives. It's crazy because we're trying to get relief by doing drugs, or escape, or change our mind, or whatever it is, and then it turns out it's actually hurting us. It's kind of a lie. It's a shit deal, right? Like I've shared before, it's like you're signing this contract. You're gonna have a lot of fun, and then in the small print it says you're good, but you're gonna ruin your life. Then you don't read the small prints. That's how it is. If I do drugs, Savage Tripper. What a name! Have you ever had a steroid addiction? I have a steroid addiction. Any thoughts? Well, I have an opinion on that, so I'll tell you. So the drugs I was addicted, right, was instant gratification. So I would take something, and then within seconds, I would feel it. All right. So I would feel good. I would feel good and better right away. It was like a relief. You know what I mean? Like you get your fix. You don't get a fix from steroid. So I think what you might be addicted to is the image, right? Maybe you're addicted to how you look. You're addicted to body image. Maybe you think you're too small. Maybe you think without the gear, you're not going to be big enough to be, to look a certain way, and then that creates a lot of fear for you and a lot of pain. So I think it's like a girl who's an anorexic. Like she's addicted to nothing, right? To not eating food, right? So, but she's addicted to like how she looks, how she sees herself. You said you get a fix, but you don't feel good right away when you take gear. All depression for me. Well, maybe like there's underlying things, right? Maybe you have depression, and then you're self-medicating with this somehow. Um, but I don't know if it applies to that. I mean, you could you see the link I put up, Savage Tripper. There's a link there, na.org, WP, whatever. You could like I don't know, maybe it's placebo. I've never felt like that doing that stuff. But what you need to do, what I just did is a whole like questionnaire. Maybe you could do the questionnaire on that. You know what I mean? But yeah, you could very well be addicted to something, and then you're addicted to something that makes you feel better, but that there's an underlying condition that makes you want to do that, and that's where you need to address it. Oh, one sec, I'll post it again. Here. I just came in from trimming weed plants in the barn. You might be an addict. But yeah, just read that. I mean, if you smoke weed every day, you might be an addict, period. So this is a great, I just did the exercise, you just tuned in, right? But I just answered all 29 questions. And it kind of helps you figure out if you're an addict or not. So maybe you can try that tonight or something. I'm going to keep reading this thing. Some of these questions don't even mention drugs. This is because Arment is saying, "Have you found yourself dissociating when trying to quit?" This so can you elaborate on that, Arment? This dissociating when trying to quit an addiction. Can you like just elaborate on what you mean by that? What's up, Jake? All right, some of these questions don't even mention drugs. This is because addiction is an insidious disease that affects all areas of our lives, even those areas which seem at first to have little to do with drugs. The different drugs we use were not as important as why we used them and what they did to us. See that Savage Tripper? This relates to you a little bit, and it relates to all addicts, right? So it says here the different drugs we use were not as important as why we use them and what they did to us. So this is where we get all addicts are the same. So we're addicted to food, to sex, or hard drugs, or soft drugs, or alcohol. It doesn't matter what the drug is. It's like why you use them and like what it's doing to you. So this is where you can see like if you're an addict or not. You know what I mean? And this is where you can see like where you can maybe you get like an idea of like where to go with your recovery a little bit. Armin says, not feeling like you have agency, like kind of going through the motion of the, oh yes, yeah, of course, Armin. So sometimes I would have some clean time, and then out of the blue, didn't plan. I would be impulsive. I would find like go and call somebody that has some. I would drive there, and I would almost like avoid any thinking and just go on autopilot. Go there, grab the bag, do the thing, and then I'll be like, oh, I guess here we go again. You know what I mean? So, yeah, impulsivity. I'm a very impulsive guy. I'm impulsive and obsessive and an extremist. Good. It's good for like things like but with bodybuilding. Yeah, I can obsess over nutrition and training, and then it's going to be something positive. But my brain is like that with a lot of things. So back then when I was using drugs, I was like super passionate about doing drugs, obsessed and all this stuff. And then sometimes I would be impulsive and just go towards that. Maybe something would happen. I would like feel a certain way, or sometimes I would celebrate with drugs in the past before I knew I was an addict. I would celebrate with drugs, like reward myself with drugs. So yeah, autopilot. Yeah, it's a hell of a mix. That's me. That's me, brother. Yeah, extremist, impulsive, obsessive. Here we go. Savage Tripper says I'm addicted to arm wrestling, which is good. That's positive. I mean, you're gonna break your arm multiple times, but gummy bears, that's sugar. Yeah, pizza. I get that. Nutella with the spoon. So you're a food addict, and you like arm wrestling. I mean, is it controlling your life? Is it like ruining your life? There might be some work to be done there, but you're the only one who can answer that, right? All right, let's keep reading here. When we first read these questions, it was frightening for us to think we might be addicts. Honestly, it wasn't frightening to put a label on myself that I was an addict because the proof was there. I was like, yeah, I'm an extreme guy. Like, I guess it does make sense I'm an addict. It's like, you know what I mean? That my dad was, alcoholic. So it's like, yeah, I guess I got the same, I got the genetics for all these traits of impulsiveness like we talked about. So for me, it wasn't really frightening to call myself an addict. I didn't like hesitate. Even like in the meetings, I say, "Hi, I'm Antoine. I'm an addict." I just say it. Some people say like they kind of avoid saying addict. Say, "Hi, my name is Mark. I'm a grateful recovering addict in recovery." It's like they just try to make sure that the words are a bit better for themselves. I mean, words are powerful, so I guess it's good. But for me, I don't care. Like, I'm an addict. Yes, I got an addict brain. I still do. It's like I'm not gonna lie to myself and say I'm not because that's dangerous, right? Um, yeah, some of us try to dismiss these thoughts by saying, "Oh, those questions don't make sense," or "I'm different. I know I take drugs, but I'm not an addict. I have real emotional family job problems." Or I'm just having a tough time getting it together right now. It's like there's justifications and all type of stuff you can tell yourself. You can tell yourself so many things to justify your habits, and sometimes it's like almost like the smarter you are, the better you'll be at justifying your drug use. Because there's really smart people who are addicted to drugs. It's not just like dumb people, you know. There's all kinds of people all across from the world, lawyers, even doctors, homeless people, athletes, artists, actors. They all like there's addicts in all like categories of jobs and of lives and of people in the world. That's why I like the rehab. It's like a funky bunch of people. Funky bunch. You know, it's like a crazy mix of like nowhere in the world you're gonna have a doctor sitting beside some drug dealer that became homeless. You know, it's like and they're all there trying to get better. This is why I love the meetings. This is why I love the rehab. It's like you get all these people together towards are working towards the same goal, coming from different aspects of life. I think it's exciting. Um, Functioning. You said functioning? Maybe I missed something. No problem, Savage Tripper. Yeah, I appreciate that too. Appreciate you coming here. But yeah, I wasn't a functioning addict. I wasn't one. When I did drugs, I stopped everything else. This is where the obsessive part comes in, right? It's like all or nothing. I'm an all or nothing guy. So when I would start drugs, it was drugs and nothing else. You know. If you are an addict, you must first admit that you have a problem with drugs before any progress can be made toward recovery. These questions, when honestly approached, may help to show you how using drugs has made your life unmanageable. Addiction is a disease which, without recovery, ends in jails, institutions like rehab, or mental institutions, and finally, death, sadly. Many of us came to an A because drugs had stopped doing what we needed them to do, make you feel good, right? Addiction takes our pride, self esteem, family, loved ones, and even our desire to live. Yeah. If you have not reached the point in your addiction, this point in your addiction, you don't have to, right? You can stop before you're getting too far ahead. For me, it's like it could have gotten worse. Obviously, I was already homeless, living in a shelter. So I don't know how worse it could get. I guess lose all my friends, right? It could always get worse until you die. Honestly, but yeah, uh, many of us came to NA because drugs had stopped doing what we needed to do. Addiction takes our pride, self-esteem, family, loved ones, and even our desire to live. If you have not reached this point in your addiction, you don't have to. We have found that our private hell was within us. Oh, that's deep. That's deep, bro. Listen to this. We have found that our own private hell was within us. Like hell is a state of mind in a sense, right? Some people can be like rich millionaires, but they're living hell inside of them. You know, if they're addicts, that you can create your own suffering so much with addiction that whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever status you have, you're gonna be in hell. But if you want help, you can find it in the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous with all the other addicts. The Fellowship. I like the word fellowship. It makes me think of Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Ding Dongs, Lord of the Addicts. Okay, there's another part I can read too. There was a third part. Oh, there you go. Wow. There we go. That's a quote from the basic text, I guess. Oh no, wait a minute. Where's that? Oh, that's the last part. We were searching for an answer when we reached out and found Narcotics Anonymous. Came to our first NA meeting in defeat and didn't know what to expect. Yeah, every time I would like relapse, I'd go back to the meetings. I would sit in the back, arms crossed, you know, hoodie up if I guess if I wasn't too warm. But yeah, didn't want to talk to anybody. Didn't want to make. I didn't want to make eye contact when I came back from a big relapse, right? After sitting in a meeting or several meetings, we began to feel that people cared and were willing to help. Yeah, for sure. You know, there was people like, when they talked to me, I could feel that they wanted to help. It was genuine, and I'll always try to give that back now in a meeting. If there's a newcomer, I try to go talk to them. You know, not say anything crazy. Just like say, hey, what's up, man, and whatever. Just even small talk can make a big difference. You know, just make them feel like accepted. It's very important, and in NA, people will do that without asking anything in exchange, right? Because by giving back, we keep, our recovery alive. Although our minds told us that we would never make it, the people in the fellowship gave us hope by insisting that we could recover. That's why, we say like we do recover. It's like a reminder, we do recover. And the thing is, the proof is there. And I shared in the last meeting that it really helped me to know, because I'm pretty competitive myself. I'm a competitive guy. Put that with obsessive, compulsive, and impulsive, and extremist. I'm also competitive, right? So when I would see these guys, these are normal folks. And these guys you tell me this guy's got 10 years clean, and he was homeless, too, You telling me this guy, this woman has 10 years clean? Why? I can't do that. I'll do it. I'm gonna do it. I think that the part of me that was competitive actually helped me in a sense, because I would see the other people do it, and that gave me hope that I could and faith that I could. Because if they can do it, why can't I? So it helped me to be competitive in a sense like that. Surrounded by fellow addicts, we realized that we were not alone anymore. That's true. Anybody suffering right now, one of these 11 viewers or anybody watching this after the fact, if you're suffering from addiction, there's millions of people in the same position as you, and there's millions of people who were in that same spot. I've suffered what you're suffering right now. I've suffered what you suffered. And this is how I was able to relate with people. I would hear people share about their suffering, and I was like, yep, I felt that, I've done that. And then what they would say afterwards would stick way more, and they would have my attention way more. That's why I like getting my recovery from people in recovery, because there were a lot of counselors in some of the rehabs. They just went to school and like as a counselor, and they would try to talk to me like about like stuff with drug addiction, and I was like, yeah, but you never knew, you don't know how it felt. How can you tell me like this when you don't know how it feels? Of course, they can have show good support, but I would never, I didn't, it wasn't the same. But this a guy was like, he got 22 years, and he was like, he tells me these things that he did, and he was all fucked up. He's like, he did some fucked up stories and stuff. I was like, yeah, I want to hear more about what you did to get clean, because your life was pretty fucked up when you were an addict, in active addiction. So this is how I was able to relate with people in the rehabs and NA and stuff, and this is why I think my live stream right now that I'm doing here can help some people going through it, because, hey, I've done it. I was like, I lost everything. I had nowhere to go. I had like under $20 left. That was more than one time, by the way. And all I wanted to do is keep going and do more drugs, And I've lied to my loved ones. I've cheated. I did all these bad things because I was on drugs, and I couldn't stop by myself. Impossible. Every time that I had stopped and I got clean time for real, and I felt I was really in recovery, is when I stopped everything and called myself out and I went to rehab. Then in rehab was like, I would give up. I would give up trying to control drugs, and then I would just give up that and surrender, and then go to rehab. That's how I stopped every time. Our lives. Wait a minute. Recovery is what happens in our meetings. Our lives are at stake. We found that by putting recovery first, the program works. Recovery first, always. If I don't put recovery first, I'm gonna have big problems. Because if I relapse, I'm gonna, most likely, uh, in a short amount of time, like lose my job, lose the place I'm living, lose my all the riches I have, lose everything. That's terrible. I mean, it's not even a question in my mind right anymore that that's gonna happen because I got too much to lose. I can handle suffering until I go to bed. You know what I mean? Like I can go to bed without drugs. I can do that 100% with all that I know now. But in the past, it's like, if I didn't put it first, I would lose it. I would lose everything. So I put recovery and my priority first, and then my life, my relationships, and everything. You know what I mean? If I feel I need to go to a meeting and do recovery, I'll need to do that and cancel everything else so I can do that. Right? We face three disturbing realizations. I'm going to go to that in a second. Lalito Firito has a question. After you told your family and friends that you relapsed, causing them emotional pain, how did you find inner peace and forgive yourself? Well, one thing's for sure, Lalito, it wasn't within the first 4 weeks. And I can say that after facing the consequences, waking up in rehab after sleeping for 5 days in a coma, pretty much, the person, I'll say this, the person I hated the most in my life was myself. And that didn't go away quickly, right? But eventually, I was able to forgive myself because I understand how I am. I'm an addict, and then I knew that it's like I'm too weak, powerless over drugs. So it's like, it's not my fault that I became an addict, but it is my responsibility to be in recovery. So I would just focus on that. How can I be better? And then eventually, you make amends with your family and friends. But the thing is, saying sorry while you're still doing drugs. I've said sorry so many times. The word sounded like just like like a knock on a knock on the table, like as much meaning as this saying sorry, because it didn't mean anything, right? I said it so many times. So now I know that the best amends I can do to everybody around me that knows that what I did is just the living amends of being clean and doing good for myself. So eventually, the more clean time you'll get, you will start to be proud of yourself. You got to do things that are hard, and then you got to go through hard times, and you got to go through them clean. Then you got to be proud of yourself. So, and with time, you'll forgive yourself, and then inner peace will come by, pop in its head sometimes. I mean, I have inner peace sometimes, but a lot of times there's a lot of inner chatter, a lot of dialogue that goes on in my head with myself, and my inner voice and my inner conversations are not always nice to myself. So it's not always peaceful, but I know that doing drugs will make everything worse. And now, like, all my friends, all my family, I know they're all proud of me, because I did, and I stuck to the plan, and day after day I did it. But dude, it wasn't first try. It wasn't first try. So yeah, saying to your friends and family that you relapse will cause them pain. They'll be disappointed. They'll be all that. But this is kind of like, this is useful. This is useful. This is like me disappointing everyone. I didn't know at the time was like kind of like fuel. It's like, I don't want to do that again. So now if I think about doing drugs, I think about all that stuff. I play the tape until the end. What happens when I do drugs? The good times comes, and then everything comes back with anxiety, this, that. guilt, shame, all this, and then I end up like disappointing everyone and myself. So right now, that shame, that guilt, really painful because you're hurting other people, right? If you're, if they learn about it, which it's a matter of time for them to do it, and honestly, I would want my kid to know they're relapsing, even though it pisses me off and it would disappoint me. I wanna know that I'll deal with the pain. Don't worry, and I just want them to get better. So I'm sure if they really love you, they'll be pissed off, they'll be disappointed, but they want you to get better, and this is part of the process. So it's it's a pain that most likely all addicts have to go through if they want to go in recovery. And a lot of addicts, including myself, were procrastinating stopping because I didn't want to face the truth. I didn't want to face the music, face the pain of like disappointing everyone. A lot of time I would keep using just for that. I don't want to stop now. It's like I would just avoid. Like addiction made me run away from people that love me. Whoa, how crazy is that? That's another thing in the small writings that when you start using drugs, you don't know. Like, using drugs makes me run away from the people that love me? How the fuck does that work? It's like the people that love me, I should be going towards them. But addiction makes me run away from them. This is where you know that addiction is a kind of an evil power. It grabs you like a little possessed demon and then brings you away from your family and friends and everybody loves you. And then will isolate you with like people that don't really care about you that much, or people that care about you but they're also going through addiction, so you kind of like all together in this fucking bath of misery. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question here. But how did I find inner peace and forgive myself? With time and by being clean and doing the program of the 12 steps. There's a bunch of steps in there, and some of them are like will help you find serenity and find inner peace eventually. But it's not gonna be like as addicts we want results quick, 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 quick. I want to feel good now. I want to forgive myself now. I want inner peace now. It's not gonna happen. It didn't for me. Maybe it'll be faster than me. Who knows, right? But for me, it wasn't like that. Joseph Dean, what's up? Thanks for being here. All right. Here it says we face three disturbing realizations. One, we are powerless over our addiction and our lives are unmanageable. Yes, that's true. It was. And then two, although we are not responsible for our disease, we are responsible for our recovery. See, I said that earlier. I got it from this. Got it from the program itself. Although we're not responsible for our disease, we are responsible for our recovery. Right? I'm not responsible for my impulsive, obsessive, compulsive, extremist brain. I'm not responsible for that. That's how my brain is. The trauma from my childhood, the genetics of my brain, the consequences of my environment that had on me, all of that made me an addict without my knowledge. But so I'm not responsible for that, but I'm responsible for my recovery. All right? Hussam is saying, honestly, I would have rather had my brother told me that he was relapsing than getting that phone call 16 years ago. The only thing I can tell people is to be honest all the time. Yeah, Hussam, well, you're right. We have the proof right here. I wish your brother called you too. And I'm assuming he passed away, so I'm sorry for that. But this is it. We all would have rather have Hussam be pissed off and disappointed that his brother relapsed again, but then he would be able to help him out and support him. And now it's like instead there's grief, which is like we can't do anything about that anymore. So staying in silence by yourself is not gonna help us. We have to like reach out to people and then face the consequences of that, which we need to face them sooner or later. Like we can't just go out and not and lie and cheat and do all this stuff and get away with it. It gets back to you somehow. If it doesn't get back to you with like your family being pissed off, life will get back to you. So you'll suffer in other ways. Trust me. Yeah, I'm sorry, Osam. I hope he rests in peace. Now he's in peace. Yeah. Third realization here: we can no longer blame people, places, and things for our addiction. We must face our problem and our feelings. Oh, the feelings. See that? How they added that? The feelings. That's one of the things that are sometimes the scariest to face. You know, in your active addiction, you don't want to face all the feelings that are going to pop up when you stop doing drugs, right? It's like you put a pause on all your feelings when you start doing drugs. And then when you stop doing drugs, all these feelings come back tenfold. So that's another thing we're scared about. But we have to face it. But we don't have to face it alone. That's the thing. Alone would be terrible. You know? It is terrible. But all together, we can for sure overcome it day by day. And it says here, the ultimate weapon for recovery is the recovering addict. And what do they mean by that? Is that, let's say Jake Payton is in recovery right now. He is the ultimate weapon for the recovering addict because he is a recovering addict. So me and him can talk about recovery and I will shoot recovery at each other. You know, we're each other's weapons. All of us in the chat right now. This is how we get clean. This is how, like, you know, like Lalito, you're sharing stuff with me. I'm sharing stuff with you. We are the ultimate weapon of recovery by helping each other and by sharing our experience and by understanding, by validating each other's feeling and the things we did. This is how we get clean. This is how we do it. We are the ultimate weapon of recovery as recovering addicts. How's that for a reading? That's good, right? All right, anybody have questions in the chat before I hang this up on this beautiful evening of a Tuesday, October 21st? Yeah. And obviously, we can always end this with the Serenity Prayer in a second. I'm going to give a time because there's a little delay when I speak. And then when you guys put the chat, there's like a few seconds. Jake says, man, this material is always so fantastic. I take screenshots of the slide. I'll post the link. Here's the whole pamphlet again. It was a good one, right? Maybe next week I'll do another pamphlet. So if you go to a meeting, the pamphlets are like the soft literature. It's like little papers that are folded with multiple colors. Those are free. You can take those. And they're all free online too, right? I think if you type NA pamphlets, they probably all come out, but I just remember some of them by heart. Like, Am I an Addict? That's a good one. Lalito says, thank you for the words, brother. When is the next meeting? Well, I did Tuesday last week. I did Tuesday this week, and I find there's a little bit more interactions and people on the weekday. So what you can do, Lalito, is that if you subscribe to the channel, and there's a bell button, right? You click the bell, and if you have notifications that pop up on your phone from the YouTube, I know it can be annoying sometimes, but it can be useful for this. Well, you will be notified when I'm online again. Or the other way you could do this is that I always give a little heads up on my stories on my Instagram, and my Instagram is 1 second, I'll post a link on Instagram too. Here's my Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, in my stories, I always give a heads up when I do it. But I'm going to do it Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time next week too. So I will do that. But sometimes I would do it during the weekend, but for some reason during the weekend I would forget. And sometimes on the weekend at 9 p.m. I guess people are doing stuff. They got lives. So they had less people online. So I think that this is good doing that on a Tuesday at 9 p.m. So before I hang this up. Anybody if have any questions, any burning desire to share something, I'm listening. If not, you can just say, "See ya, man." And I'm going to read this Serenity Prayer right now. So, Usam says, thank you for your live stream, helping us all. Best regards to Taylor. Take good care of yourself and your family. The pump is the cure. Yes, sir, the pump is the cure. Along with a big and strong recovery program, of course. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Lalito, I enjoy your questions very much. I was able to share some stuff because of that, and I know it probably helped you, and I'm sure it helped other people. So that was good. So I enjoyed you guys being here tonight too, and one day at a time. Remember, it is possible to get better. Yes, good to see you, Jake. All right. See ya next Tuesday night, 9 p.m.